Somebody shooting rockets? Rockets, rockets.
Nope.
Yep.
No.
Ariel's
Big group,
getting
big group, big
annihilated.
group, big group.
Oh my god, I'm getting toasted.
There's a ton.
Yeah,
There's
there's
a ton.
I'm coming from the south.
I'm gonna try to take us straight south, but we're probably gonna lose it here.
Straight north, so you guys will pass me at some point.
South. Sorry, south. They're about to break my right wings. All right wings are about to break.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
There's one, two, there's so many.
What you're seeing here is the current end game of Dune Awakening's Deep Desert PvP. And this is a desperate plea to Funcom to please remove rockets from ornithopters entirely. I was really doubtful about the end game of Dune Awakening being any fun at all. Right now the game is pretty shallow and there's really nothing else for these big guilds to do at the end game once they've amassed resources, aside from preventing smaller groups from harvesting spice or participating in the end game. My doubts about the end game were initially assuaged because spice collection in crawlers is really fun. It's actually pretty enjoyable to ride your crawler over the sand and use the carrier to pick it up when the worm's coming. And the danger of PvP does make that exciting, especially when you're transporting out a full crawler full of sand. It can hold 50,000 spice sand, which translates to about 1,000 melange. It's pretty exciting hauling that much wealth through the deep desert PvP zone. But the problem is that this is now the second carrier and crawler that we've lost. The carrier is lost entirely and gets thumped to the worm eventually, but the crawler gets stolen, and that's because of the current state of the endgame meta. The meta in the endgame of Dune Awakening is not to harvest your own spice. We have a saying in survival games, and that is there are people who farm and there are people who take. And the aggressors, the people who take in Dune Awakening, are highly favored because of how easy it is for a large group to destroy a carrier before you have a chance to react. The pop-in distance for other players to render in on your screen so that you can see them is very low. It's probably about maybe 1 to 200 meters. Someone else probably knows the exact number, I don't, but it's really close. And so what you have is you'll be out harvesting spice sand, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll see a zerg of 10 to 20 players in rocket ornithopters just absolutely blast your carrier and take it out of the sky, destroying its wings before you even have a chance to move a single module over. I mean, you saw it there. This is from the POV of my buddy Cornman, who was piloting our crawler. I was piloting the carrier. The carrier went off screen pretty fast, but I didn't make it very far. And you know, the first crawler that we lost, we went out in a party of 4. We had one person operating the carrier, another operating the crawler, and then 2 people on guard, on defense with rocket ornithopters. And we did not survive that one, so we decided we needed a bigger group. And we banded together with every active player we could on our siege, and we ended up organizing a group of 9 to come out for a bigger spice harvesting operation in hopes that having a larger group we'd be able to dissuade people from attacking us or at least stand a chance in PvP. But the reality is that the harder you fight, the more show up to steal your crawler. And this Zerg guild doesn't harvest their own spice. What they do is they keep a scout on every large spice plume, and there can only be one large spice plume at a time that's active. And as soon as a carrier shows up to harvest the spice, they call out to the Zerg, and they head that way to come steal the crawler and any spice that you've managed to gather so far. So their goal isn't necessarily to participate in the game mechanics that are there for you to enjoy. As limited as they may be, they are fun for people like myself and the people that I play with, we enjoy it. They may disagree, and whatever. But these Zerg guilds, their primary goal is to block spice collection by smaller guilds and essentially choke them out of playing the game. And this endgame meta is that they swoop in with their carrier as soon as yours is destroyed, and they steal your crawler, and then they take it back to their own little base where they drop it and take all the spice sand out, and then transfer it safely to the PvE area or Haga Basin where you can no longer get it back. So there is an argument to be made. Their base here is in a PvP area, so we could technically raid it after a sandstorm and we'd have 6 minutes to take from them. But with their numbers, I'm not very hopeful that we would be successful, and it just kind of feels like an uphill losing battle. Another thing that contributes to this issue is that these players, they don't participate in the game in the same way that an average player would. You know, Haga Basin's content to go through it all could range anywhere from 50 to 100 hours if you're moving quickly. And that's doing all the contracts, all the quests to level up your skill tree, all of that type of thing. But if the guild gives these players an ornithopter, they can just skip straight to the deep desert without doing any of that, without leveling up their skills, because they don't need skills to be efficient in an ornithopter with rockets. All they need is to be given an ornithopter with rockets, the permissions for that vehicle, and they can come out here and participate in this activity. And, you know, you can call it PvP. It's PvP, I guess. It's just not really fun for the losing party because, you know, that carrier and crawler took us a couple days to farm up, and to lose it in a matter of seconds is, you know, it was fun the first time in the sense that we saw a challenge and we wanted to overcome it. But they hit us way harder the second time, and there just really wasn't any hope for us to fight back. As you can see, we tried, but in the end, it was futile because they had already stolen our crawler. The only real way for us to fight back would be to come out here with rocket ornithopters and just KOS anyone we saw, but you know, that doesn't really sound too enjoyable to me. Honestly, the ornithopter combat in this game isn't great. It's not that fun. It's pretty bare bones. And it's really not what I imagined when I purchased the game. I imagined more using the skills that are in the game, but those really aren't used at all in the end game. And I think this meta is entirely enabled by rocket ornithopters. They completely dominate any form of ground combat. So all those skills that you've learned in Haga Basin, all your skill tree, all the active abilities and techniques that you've chosen, those are completely obsolete here in the end game when you're fighting other players, because all of the combat happens in the air, and it's already too late once you've hit the sand. So my suggestion to fix the game and just make it a more fun experience for groups of all sizes would be to completely remove rockets from ornithopters. I've seen other people suggest this. I think it's a great idea. Ornithopters would still be useful for transport and scouting, but the combat should happen on the ground. The worm in the game is pretty great. It's pretty fun. It's scary. And the idea of having ground combat with the fear of the worm in the back of your head, it just sounds exciting. And I'd like to see the game and what it looks like in that state. So I really hope that the Funcom sees this. I hope that they see other examples of this happening, because what's happening is these big groups are cannibalizing the game. Our group has already left and moved to a private server, and you know, that makes things better for us in Haga Basin, because these groups are also in Haga Basin controlling the spice there too, blocking people from getting spice, pushing them into the sand and thumping any spice nodes. It's bad. So at least on our private server, we can get some spice, and we just started yesterday, but we're hopeful that the deep desert there is better too. If it's not, we'll probably just move on from the game. I mean, that's that. I like to compete. I like a challenge, but you can't really compete against these people the way the game is currently designed. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this, I hope this resonates with some people. I hope that you share this with other people who feel the same way, and I hope that we can get the attention of Funcom so that they can do something about it. Because honestly, the game's really impressive visually. The vehicle movement is awesome. I'd love to see more ground combat with buggies, sand bikes, and people on foot using their skills, using rocket launchers and las guns. Things you'd expect to see in the Dune universe. Thank you.